During the Second World War, the home front was as tense as the battlefront. Air raids were only part of the threat. In occupied territories, and even in safer regions, civilians faced the risk of intruders exploiting the chaos to loot, steal, or worse. Communities developed methods of protecting homes that went far beyond locks or armed guards. One of the most remarkable, and honestly largely forgotten, tricks allowed homeowners to deter intruders before they even reached the door. It relied not on firepower or walls of steel, but on psychological engineering, clever placement, and simple yet effective materials. Soldiers and civilians alike swore by it, and today survivalists, historians, and security-conscious homeowners can still apply these principles to protect property and lives. The engineers realized that visibility and perception were more powerful than brute force. Modern security often focuses on alarms, cameras, or high fences, but during World War II, resources were scarce. Homeowners needed inexpensive methods to prevent intruders from even approaching. The trick was based on manipulating perception, making a property appear occupied, defended, and unpredictable. Civilians would use strategically placed lights, reflective surfaces, and movement simulators to create the illusion of constant vigilance. Soldiers observed that many would-be thieves or enemy saboteurs would abandon an attempt simply because they believed someone was watching or ready to respond. You can recreate this principle today using simple tools. Motion-activated lights, reflective tapes along windows, and even hanging lightweight objects that move in the wind can create subtle signals of occupancy. The goal isn't to intimidate violently, but to project the impression that the property is observed, prepared, and potentially dangerous to approach. The trick also relied on sound management to create uncertainty. World War II households discovered that sound could be a defensive tool. Creaking boards, strategically placed wind chimes, or lightweight noise-making devices alerted homeowners to approaching intruders while simultaneously confusing them. By introducing irregular noise patterns, intruders couldn't reliably determine the size or position of occupants. Soldiers noted that in villages using these methods, the incidence of break-ins dropped sharply. Intruders simply didn't want to risk confrontation with an unknown defender. For modern application, homeowners can set up small, low-tech noisemakers near entry points. Even a simple tin can, suspended to rattle in the wind, or a loose floorboard that creaks when stepped on, can replicate this principle. The goal is subtle unpredictability, not constant loud alarms that could desensitize neighbors or compromise discretion. Beyond perception and sound, World War II civilians added simple barriers to slow intruders before they reached doors. Raised flower beds, uneven gravel paths, or lightweight tripwires triggered small bells, giving the occupants extra reaction time. These methods were practical and affordable, requiring only basic materials, yet they leveraged the intruder's own hesitation. A person stepping on an uneven surface or hearing an unexpected sound naturally paused, and that split second could make the difference between prevention and confrontation. Today, you can apply this by creating subtle, layered defenses around doors and windows. Gravel paths, strategically placed potted plants, or even decorative barriers can double as psychological deterrence while slowing anyone attempting unauthorized entry. Adding a discreet bell or motion-activated chime provides early notification, allowing homeowners to respond safely without alerting intruders to exactly what's happening inside. You know, one of the reasons this World War II home defense trick stayed effective was really its dynamic nature. Occupants would regularly change the arrangement of lights, sound devices and barriers. A home that looked predictable could be, well, circumvented, but a home that seemed alive, shifting and responsive, now that created real hesitation. Soldiers and historians noticed that intruders tended to prefer predictable environments. When they were faced with uncertainty, they often just retreated rather than risk exposure. In practice today, this translates to, periodically adjusting lights, reflective surfaces and noisemakers. Rotate furniture near windows, occasionally shift decorations that could double as deterrents and keep the property looking inhabited. The goal is to sustain an impression of vigilance and unpredictability. This World War II home defense trick proves that foresight and psychology can outweigh raw force. What makes this method remarkable is, honestly, its simplicity and timelessness. It doesn't rely on expensive equipment, high-tech surveillance or firearms. It relies on understanding human behavior. Intruders fear observation, uncertainty and delay. By applying perception management, sound, subtle barriers and unpredictability, World War II civilians created effective home defense with minimal resources. Today, this trick is still relevant for rural homesteads, survivalist compounds, and even urban apartments. Whether you are studying history, preparing for emergencies, or simply want to improve home security in a thoughtful, historically grounded way, this method is both practical and replicable. Small interventions that manipulate perception and delay entry can provide safety far beyond what their modest materials suggest. For more forgotten wartime strategies, practical survival hacks, and historical insights that still work in modern life, subscribe to In the Bigging. Share this video with fellow history enthusiasts. And, keep these time-tested skills alive for the next generation.